Hello! Well, I always liked to draw when I was little, like a lot of kids do. And I guess, I mean, as far as like pursuing it more seriously, I guess that happened sometime in college. I started out as I first started out as an ecology major, um, and then switched to journalism. And while I was a journalism major in college, I was having a hard time getting my homework finished because I would just draw. I think 2005-ish was when I started on this series with the animals and the people, which is kind of what I've like shown most prominently in galleries. And that all started. I mean, I've always kind of been very like animal-centric with things, which was kind of part of why I started out as an ecology major in college. I was really interested in nature and the workings with all of that. So.
And what's the name of your series now? Has been sort of a cycle?
It changes, but I think when it started, it was called Astral Menagerie, which at the time came from. I started painting those because I was having a lot of dreams about animals and had this sort of like dream connection to animals that wasn't necessarily reflected in like real life situations. So like animals would talk, or you'd have like animal qualities as a person. I guess I wanted a lot of the scenes to look like you just kind of opened the door and this story was taking place, like, you know, call you if you got the show. So I got one and was like so excited. And I guess, yeah, the first one was kind of like, it was pretty nerve-wracking because, I mean, I guess you get used to showing your work to other people in the classroom like this, but at some point it's all, you know, you guys are used to each other and it's very casual, but to have it, you know, in the white walls and strangers coming to judge it, or I got really lucky at that first show I had. I had been handing out flyers at like Castle Berryville the night before when they did their art walk, and was just giving out flyers for my opening the next night, and happened to hand one to Jerry Cullum, who is an art writer. At the time he wrote for the AGC and art papers. He's an art critic and writer around town. And he came to my opening, and so I got a really good write-up in the AGC about it the next day. So
That's awesome.
And really ever since that, like really that one contact, like shortly thereafter he curated a show and got me in it. So it was one of those situations where I got really lucky, where my first show I had the right person there at the right time, and it just kind of like was a springboard off into like I pretty much like owe everything to that one show of like every other show.
What about like going through the art history classes and the beginning stages of your art program? Did that stand out to you at all, or like a movement or a particular artist that, or was it all just sort of part of the curriculum for you?
I mean, I guess going through school, I was drawn a lot more to the more recent art. I mean, I remember in undergrad, I did pretty poorly in art history classes. I had a really hard time paying attention until I took a class that was 1950 to present, and it was a lot more just kind of like conceptual pieces. And the 50s, 60s, I'm reading a lot about the Fluxus movement and the Situationists, which was like this avant-garde group in Paris in the 50s, and kind of the conceptualism movement.
What are your plans for moving on after the animals pieces? Do you have anything brewing or
Um,
starting up that you're excited about? Or
Yes. Well, like I said, I've tried to ditch the animal pieces on multiple occasions, and actually thought that I had ditched them for good. But then we have this Miami show coming up this Thursday, actually.
Perigine will be there.
He's
So
leaving tomorrow
excited.
morning.
Yeah.
You won't be there in class,
I
obviously. Are you not going
No, she's going to Miami too.
I'm going on Thursday.
Thursday?
Oh.
After class.
I'm heading out right after. Things like that where I thought I was done with something and then got a new tool, kind of like a new material, and all of a sudden it put this whole new spin on something I'd been doing for years that I was so sick of and so over. So then I kind of made similar scenes but cut them out. So I took out the whole background, and now they're, instead of just on this flat panel, they're kind of these free floating figures that hang on the wall, and then they have a backdrop that are just perspective lines made out of masking tape. So, and then totally different stuff that I want to keep pursuing after school. But the thesis that I'm working on right now is kind of about. Well, I'm taking physical spaces like either rooms or neighborhoods, and making maps out of them. So like 2-dimensional maps, and then taking the maps and building the maps in 3 dimensions. So then people are walking through a map of a space. So you're walking through the space, but you're walking through a mapped space.
The teacher
Work a
to
lot,
students.
and 1 out of 5,000 would be worth it.
There you go.
That's terrible advice.